A marriage doesn't collapse in one moment. It crumbles slowly, silently, piece by piece, until one day you wake up and wonder how love turned into emptiness. There is one truth that decides whether your marriage thrives or falls apart, and if you ignore it, no amount of love can save it. Marriage is one of the greatest journeys two souls can take together. It is not simply about sharing a home, a bed, or a name. It is about building a shared destiny. Two lives merge into one stream. Two visions intertwine. Two hearts begin to beat toward a future greater than either could imagine alone. But for many, what begins with laughter and light ends in silence and sorrow. The reason is not always betrayal, not always money, not always conflict. The real collapse begins when one truth is ignored. Marriage is not sustained by passion alone, but by intention, alignment, and daily choice. Too many people step into marriage with the illusion that love is enough to keep it alive. But love without understanding, without vision, without commitment, becomes like a flame without oxygen. It flickers, weakens, and eventually dies. Passion may spark the union, but intention keeps it burning. Without intention, you stop investing in each other. You stop listening. You stop showing up with presence. Slowly the connection erodes, and the very foundation begins to weaken. The truth is, marriage is not built in grand gestures. It is built in the unseen moments. The way you respond when your partner feels weak. The way you listen when they are speaking their fears. The way you protect their dreams, even when they sound impossible. It is not the flowers on Valentine's Day that sustain love. It is the daily choice to water the bond with kindness, patience, and presence. Ignore this truth, and the bond quietly dries out until it cannot survive. Some people think marriage collapses because of big fights, but often it collapses because of silence, because of the conversations that never happen, the apologies never spoken, the appreciation never expressed. You can live under the same roof and still feel miles apart if you ignore the truth that intimacy requires attention. You cannot expect a marriage to flourish while neglecting its garden. Just as a plant dies without water, a marriage dies without intentional care. Alignment is another part of this truth. Two people may love each other deeply, but if their values and visions are pulling in opposite directions, conflict becomes inevitable. Love cannot erase misalignment. It cannot make up for lack of shared purpose. Marriage thrives when two souls walk in the same direction, when both see the relationship not as a cage, but as a platform to grow higher. Without alignment, one grows while the other resists. One dreams while the other doubts, and the bond begins to fracture. Ignore this truth, and the marriage begins to feel like a battlefield instead of a partnership. And then there is the choice. Marriage is not a feeling you ride. It is a decision you renew every single day. Feelings rise and fall like tides, but choice creates stability. You may not always feel passion. You may not always feel excited. But if you choose commitment, you carry the relationship through the storms. If you rely only on fleeting emotions, you will abandon the ship at the first sign of rain. But when you choose to stay, to fight, to grow, you create a marriage that is unshakable. Ignore this truth, and the vows you once spoke will become hollow words echoing in an empty room. So many marriages collapse, not because two people stop loving each other, but because they stop choosing each other. They stop showing gratitude. They stop speaking life into one another. They stop fighting for the vision they once promised to build together. Love is not a static state. It is alive. And like anything alive, it must be nurtured or it dies. The one truth you must never ignore is this. Marriage is a living covenant, not a one-time contract. Imagine a home where two people remember this truth. Every day, they choose each other again. Every day, they align their vision and check if they are walking in the same direction. Every day, they invest small acts of love, words of encouragement, gestures of kindness, moments of listening. That marriage becomes unbreakable because it is fueled not just by emotion, but by intention. It becomes a partnership where each is both a protector and a dreamer, where struggles are shared and victories are celebrated together. But imagine a home where this truth is forgotten, where love is taken for granted, where effort disappears, where communication fades. At first, The cracks are small, a missed thank you, a forgotten promise, a silent evening with no words exchanged. But over time, the cracks widen until the walls can no longer stand. The marriage collapses, not because love never existed, but because it was neglected. To keep your marriage alive, you must be vigilant. You must guard against laziness, against indifference, against selfishness. You must remember that the person beside you is not just your spouse, but your partner in destiny. Their dreams are now tied to yours. Their peace is tied to yours. Their future is tied to yours. To ignore their needs is to weaken your own foundation. To ignore their heart is to endanger your own future. The truth is, marriage is not meant to be a prison. It is meant to be a garden. And in a garden, growth is not automatic. It takes pruning, watering, and protection. It takes effort, not just once, but continually. The flowers that bloom are beautiful, but they are the result of hidden work. Likewise, the joy of a marriage that thrives is not luck. It is the fruit of daily intentional love. Ignore this, and your marriage will collapse under the weight of neglect. So I tell you this, if you want your marriage to last, do not rely on feelings alone. Feelings are fragile. Choices are strong. Do not rely on passion alone. Passion fades. Vision sustains. Do not take your spouse for granted. Gratitude multiplies love, but neglect drains it dry. This one truth, marriage is sustained by intentional effort, alignment, and daily choice, cannot be ignored if you want your love to last. Look at your relationship today. Are you choosing each other daily, or are you coasting? Are you aligning your visions, or are you drifting apart? Are you feeding the bond with care, or letting it starve in silence? The answers to these questions reveal the future of your marriage. Your marriage will not collapse if you build it on the truth. But if you ignore it, no matter how much you once loved, the collapse is inevitable. So remember, love sparked the journey, but intention keeps it alive. Passion may fade, but commitment will carry you through. And when you choose each other, day after day, you create not just a marriage, but a destiny, one that stands unshaken, one that thrives through every storm, one that becomes a masterpiece of love lived fully. Marriage is not sustained by passion alone, but by daily intention, alignment, and conscious choice. Passion may ignite the beginning, but it is not enough to carry the weight of a lifetime. Feelings rise and fall like tides, yet intention stands firm like a rock. Every day you must choose again to honor, respect, and love the person beside you. It is in the daily renewal of this choice that marriages thrive. Without conscious effort, even the strongest love will drift into complacency. Alignment is the compass that keeps two souls moving in the same direction. When visions clash, even love feels heavy. But when visions align, love feels effortless. Marriage is not built on luck. It is built on shared purpose. Choice is more powerful than mood, for it creates stability when emotions fluctuate. Ignore this truth, and passion burns out like a candle left unattended. Remember always that love needs both fire and structure to last. Love fades without effort. Neglect is the silent killer of every marriage. A garden does not stop needing water simply because it bloomed once. Likewise, marriage does not stop needing care just because vows were spoken. Neglect is quiet. It creeps in without warning. At first, it is the missed compliment, the unspoken gratitude, the forgotten moment. Then slowly, walls of distance rise. Love is not destroyed suddenly. It withers when it is starved. Effort is the lifeline of intimacy, and without it, connection suffocates. Neglect turns partners into strangers living under the same roof. What once felt alive becomes lifeless, not from conflict, but from emptiness. Every relationship demands work, not because it is broken, but because it is alive. To ignore this is to let silence bury love until nothing remains but regret. Grand gestures do not keep love alive. It is the small daily acts of kindness that do. Flowers and gifts are beautiful, but they cannot replace consistency. What sustains love is the tone of your words, the attention in your eyes, the patience in your heart. It is the hand you hold during fear, the encouragement you give during doubt, the smile you share during stress. The little things accumulate, and they build a fortress stronger than diamonds. A single act of kindness today can heal more than 1,000 apologies tomorrow. Love is kept alive, not in fireworks, but in steady flames. A marriage built only on grand moments will crumble when ordinary days arrive. But a marriage rooted in everyday care grows stronger with time. Small acts are not small. They are the bricks that build eternity. Ignore them, and the foundation weakens until collapse becomes inevitable. Silence, unspoken gratitude, and ignored conversations destroy bonds more than arguments do. Arguments may hurt, but at least they involve engagement. Silence, however, creates an invisible wall that thickens with time. Unspoken gratitude leaves your partner unseen, unvalued, and unloved. Conversations avoided are truths postponed, and postponed truths become fractures. Slowly, silence becomes the language of distance. You may think avoiding hard talks preserves peace, but it actually kills intimacy. Marriages die not from noise, but from the absence of connection. When love is not expressed, it begins to decay. When gratitude is not spoken, it is as if it never existed. Marriage thrives on communication, the courage to speak, the humility to listen. Without it, partners drift apart until they are strangers. Arguments can be repaired, but silence creates an emptiness that swallows everything. Alignment in values and vision matters more than fleeting feelings of attraction. Two people may burn with passion, but if they walk in opposite directions, the fire will eventually die out. Love cannot erase misalignment. It cannot bridge fundamental contradictions in purpose. Values form the ground you stand upon, and vision determines the horizon you move toward. When these are not shared, every step becomes a battle. Marriage requires unity in direction, not just unity in desire. The glow of attraction may fade, but alignment keeps the bond secure. A shared vision gives marriage its compass, guiding decisions and sacrifices. Without it, confusion reigns, and resentment grows. True love is not about identical personalities. It is about shared purpose. Alignment transforms marriage into partnership, not competition. Ignore it, and passion will become exhaustion. Marriage thrives when love is renewed as a daily choice, not treated as a one-time promise. A vow spoken once is not enough. It must be lived out again and again. Each day is a new chance to choose your partner with the same devotion as the first day. Love is not automatic. It requires renewal. Even the strongest emotions fade if they are not refreshed by conscious action. The beauty of marriage is in this daily rebirth, where commitment is proven not by words but by consistency. When you choose your spouse daily, love never grows old. It remains fresh, alive, and dynamic. Without renewal, the relationship drifts into routine, and routine turns into apathy. Marriage is sustained by the habit of choosing love, even when feelings waver. It is the daily yes that keeps the bond unbreakable. A thriving relationship is a living covenant, not a contract signed once and forgotten. Contracts bind by law. Covenants bind by love and spirit. A contract ends when terms are broken, but a covenant grows even through storms. Marriage is not a piece of paper. It is a living promise. It breathes through shared effort. It grows through shared struggle, and it blossoms through shared victories. A contract says, I must, while a covenant says, I choose. The difference is everything. When treated as a contract, marriage feels like a burden. When treated as a covenant, it feels like a blessing. A covenant is alive, and it demands nurture, forgiveness, and renewal. It thrives not because conditions are perfect, but because commitment is alive. Forget this truth, and marriage becomes fragile. Remember it, and love becomes indestructible. Neglecting your spouse's needs is the fastest way to weaken your own foundation. Marriage ties your future to your partner's heart. Their peace is your peace, their joy is your joy. When their needs are ignored, cracks begin to form in the union. What hurts them eventually weakens you. Some think marriage is about self-fulfillment, but in truth, it is about mutual service. When you care for their soul, your own soul grows. When you ignore them, you invite distance, and distance invites collapse. Marriage cannot thrive on selfishness. It thrives on shared care. To love is to guard the heart beside you as your own. When you meet their needs, you strengthen the ground on which you stand. When you neglect them, you are striking at the very roots of your destiny. Gratitude, communication, and shared vision are the pillars that sustain lasting love. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into treasures. Communication transforms misunderstandings into deeper intimacy. Shared vision ensures both walk in harmony toward the same future. Without gratitude, love is taken for granted. Without communication, love suffocates in silence. Without vision, love loses direction and purpose. These three pillars hold the weight of a marriage, and if any are missing, the structure tilts. When all three are strong, the bond becomes unshakable. Gratitude makes hearts warm, communication keeps them connected, and vision gives them reason to endure together. These are not optional extras. They are the foundation. A marriage without them may sparkle briefly, but will not last. If you ignore the truth that marriage requires constant effort, the collapse becomes inevitable. No building stands without maintenance. No bond thrives without care. Effort is the heartbeat of love, and when it stops, the relationship begins to die. Some believe love should be effortless, but that is a myth. True love requires labor. Gentle, consistent, intentional labor. It requires choosing patience over anger, listening over pride, and giving over taking. The effort you put in determines the strength you receive back. A neglected marriage is like an abandoned house. It crumbles piece by piece, but a cared-for marriage grows stronger with time, weathering every storm. Effort does not kill love. It keeps it alive. Without it, collapse is not a possibility. It is a certainty.